Welcome to Samuelsdottir channel. Kevin Samuels was truly a truth seeker, and after many years of educating both men and women of all races, but particularly those of African descent, in the art of navigating the ever-complex dating world, he was sadly ripped from our lives as he was called back home to the Almighty in 2022. Some of us, myself included, instinctively recognized the truth of his message. Many found his message rather unpalatable. I am hoping with this channel to make his message that little bit more digestible in a more feminine and softer manner. I hope this helps my sisters in the Black community who saw him as an enemy. Being Black myself, I hope I can bridge that gap. And oh, by the way, my father was also called Samuel, so in a twist of fate, I pay tribute with this channel to my father, who is also where Kevin has gone. I love how the Icelandic have a way of acknowledging someone's daughter in the same way as someone's son. So I appropriate the Icelandic way to find a suitable name for my channel, Samuelsdottir, Samuel's daughter. Enjoy the video.
Why are we talking about this today? Well, last week, Brother Cam Newton was on a podcast entitled $1 Million Worth of Game. And on that podcast, Cam Newton was asked some questions. And in particular, he gave his opinion on something. Let's put it on the screen, shall we? He was asked during an appearance on the $1 Million Worth of Game podcast, Newton shared his thoughts on how women should act. That's not true. He was asked his opinion on the woman for him. Words matter, people. And in such, here's what he said. You know what? I'm going to read it. There are a lot of women out here who are bad bees. And I say bee in a way not to degrade a woman, but to just go off of the aesthetic that they deem is boss chick. Newton said, now a woman for me, Cam Newton, is handling her own, but knowing how to cater to her man's needs. Right? I think a lot of times when you get the aesthetic of I'm a boss B, I'm a this. No, baby. But you can't cook. You don't know when to be quiet. You don't know how to allow a man to lead. Now, here's the funny thing. I want to direct your attention to a couple of things. One, there was a broadcast on the Young Turks Network, Anna Kaspasian or something else, talking about Cam Newton's misogynistic rant. First of all, this was not a rant, but I want you to understand how quickly Cam Newton, when asked his opinion, was demonized, vilified, and attempted to be humiliated and crucified. Yes, that's right. He didn't just walk up and start talking this stuff. Somebody asked him a freaking question. But immediately on the Young Turks Network, she starts going into how he dressed, insulting, straight up sign language, shame, insults, guilt, and the need to be right. Insult after insult after insult, from his clothing to what she perceived his personality to be, to his personal life. And it was honestly rather disgusting. Rather disgusting. And the way in which she dealt with what he actually said was, let's just be honest, disingenuous at best. This was one of the most disgusting displays, but it was not uncommon. Because what far too many people outside of our community got triggered on was the word be. This bitch. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, because when you talk about being a bad bee, a boss bee.
From the streets. I'm a bitch from the streets. I get the money. I get.
You know, see, many people don't have, when you're in white America, Hispanic, Middle Eastern, Asian America, they don't have to deal with boss chick energy, bad bitch energy. They don't even understand what goes on into this because it's not your reality. So you hear the word be and then you jump. You jump. Then I think it's funny how we have somebody on the Chiefs and his girlfriend, not the personality, his girlfriend writes this mess about the obsession with the woman being able to cook is truly comical. Why is it truly comical that the man wants his woman to be able to cook?
Well, hello everyone. Now, this point that Kevin Samuels makes is one that also makes my blood boil. If there is anything worse than a female feminist, it's a male feminist. Because a male feminist is a double traitor. A traitor to women because he, although he knows the truth, doesn't impart that truth to women who could learn something and make their lives better, but he's also betraying men. Now, what a contradiction, where this man says, I have a traditional wife, but you, other men, don't deserve one. It's unbelievable, but there we are. This is one thing that sometimes makes me wonder whether perhaps men are not as unified as they think they are, right? You know, women have quite a range, a diversity of behaviors, of attitudes, etc. We have the completely feminine, the ultra feminine women, and then we have the boss bees, but there is also diversity among men, and it's sometimes surprising. I would expect them to be a much more homogeneous group, but hey, I'm wrong, and this is one good explanation, one good example of that.
Glad you asked. Because a lot of people just got triggered off the words, not understanding what the French toast they're talking about. Boss chick, bad chick energy. Boss bitch, a woman or a female who's confident. She is independent and survives for herself. She doesn't need anybody, and you'd be lucky, and you'd be lucky to have somebody. So she doesn't need anybody. She can control herself and her feelings. She's also irresistible. Now, this is on the Urban Dictionary, but anybody who's ever dealt with boss chick, bad chick energy, knowing it's one thing. It sounds good, but if my show has done anything, it's actually going to show that while that sounds good, there's a downside to it as well. And I think it's funny that so many people that were coming out of the woodwork who weren't even from this community, you don't even know what the hell the conversation is. But yet you're going to go to jump to Cam Newton. They're bringing up the man's past. Well, remember that time that one kid at the training camp said this and that. That kid was Karnak. That was in those same two broadcasters. But what you didn't say is that kid apologized. What you didn't understand is in this culture, in our community, it's not as black and white as it is in yours. So before you start questioning how men have to communicate over here, and how we have to run our homes and such and so forth over here, ask yourself one question. You want to switch? You want to switch? Of course not. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's get into it. There were several ways I could have come at this, but I'm going to ask the question, do you want to switch? Now, of course, you got the same old character, the cast of characters calling him misogynistic and this and that and but then I got to ask a question. Cam Newton is being demonized for giving his opinion, but you would act like Cam Newton has a history of doing something to women. You may not agree with his choices, but does he have a history? Oh, but let's talk about somebody who does. Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, ho. Sorry, Ben. Ben was accused of actually assaulting a woman in a Georgia bathroom bar. If the NFL's current policy on harassment had existed when Roethlisberger was drafted, he'd have been banned for life in 2010. You know, it's funny that for some people it's okay to speak their mind. But if you actually happen to be a man and you actually be saying something against the current narrative, then all of a sudden you must be canceled. You must be canceled. If the NFL's current policy had existed, he'd have been banned for life. He's been credibly accused of assaulting 2 women in an 11-month period, but he's going to the Hall of Fame. You got folks up here actually talking about, we're not trying to cancel a man, but who would want to bring him? Yeah. The way in which you talked about this man, you have basically sealed his fate because you were trying to make him radioactive. And here's my question. What was wrong with what he actually said? Are men allowed to have their opinions outside of their profession?
In the first place, a man dare not speak. For many reasons. The first one being that he will get misquoted anyway, as happened in this particular case with Cam Newton. Whatever he says will be twisted to make it sound like he's a misogynist, even when he really isn't. And in the second position, whatever he says is wrong, it's false, and he must be shut down. He must be cancelled immediately. Now, it's very good, I think, being a woman myself, that women have voices. Yes, that's excellent. But I think in order to have a balanced society, so should men. But good luck with that in today's current climate. I think that's unfortunate. And kudos to Kevin Samuels for bringing this to our attention. Not being a man, of course, I don't suffer the consequences of being a man. And I, therefore, am in a privileged position. And here's an opportunity for those of us in a privileged position to equalize the playing field. I think there's not much more to say, and I shall end this video here. Food for thought. Peace, grace, harmony, and blessings to all. Till next time.